Hi, this is Nurse Claire from Boost Prep, and today we will be taking the TEAS Science full-length exam. This exam is the same number of questions and same time limit as the actual exam, so let's get into it. Question 1. Which of the following changes of state refers to a solid changing to a gas? A. Boiling. B. Sublimation. C. Condensation. D. Melting. The correct answer is B, sublimation. Sublimation refers to a solid turning into a gas, while boiling is liquid to gas, condensation is gas to liquid, melting is solid to liquid. Question number 2. Thick skin is made up of 5 layers of skin, while thin skin is made up of 4 layers. Which of the following layers is only found in thick skin? A. Stratum basale. B. Stratum spinosum. C. Stratum granulosum. Or D. Stratum lucidum. The answer is D. Stratum lucidum. Stratum lucidum contains 2 to 3 layers of anucleate cells and is only found in thick skin. All the other answers are found in both thick and thin skin. Question 3. The male and female sex organs have 2 main functions. What are they? A. Produce cortisol and insulin. B. Produce gametes and hormones. C. Produce cells and hormones. D. Produce gametes and cells. The correct answer is B, produce gametes and hormones. So the primary functions of male and female sex organs are to produce gametes, which are sperm in males, eggs in females for reproduction, and to secrete hormones that regulate reproductive processes. And examples of those hormones are testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. Question number 4. What are the number of moles for the 2 products in the chemical equation listed below? A. 4 and 5. B. 5 and 4. C. 4 and 6. D. 1 and 2. The correct answer is 4 and 6. So when you're looking at this equation, on the left are the reactants and on the right are the products. You are trying to find the coefficients that go with the N and O and H2O. So in this case, you need to balance both sides of the equation, and you'll see that it is 4NO plus 6H2O. Question number 5. Which type of bones protect the organs that include vision, taste, hearing, and smell? A. Cranium and facial bones. B. Cranial vertebrae. C. Thoracic bones. D. Upper bones. The answer is A. Cranium and facial bones. Those make up the skull and consist of 8 and 14 bones respectively. These skull bones are responsible for protecting your vision, taste, hearing, and smell. Question 6. During hemostasis, calcium triggers the formation of this from prothrombin. A. Fibrinogen. B. Platelets. C. Thrombin. D. Fibrin. The correct answer is C, thrombin. Prothrombin forms thrombin, which in turn triggers the transformation of fibrinogen to fibrin. Fibrin and platelets form the final clot in hemostasis or blood clotting. So prothrombin forms thrombin. Question 7. Which of the following does not increase the rate of reaction for a chemical reaction? A. Low concentration of reactants. B. Increased pressure. C. Presence of catalysts. D. Higher temperature. The answer is A. Lower concentration of reactants does not increase the rate of reaction for a chemical reaction. So a higher concentration of reactants would increase the rate of reaction, as well as higher temperatures, increased pressure, and presence of a catalyst will all increase the rates of reaction. Which of the following molecules does the immune system identify as foreign or non-self? A. Pathogens. B. Barriers. C. Antimicrobials. Or D. Antigens. The answer is D. Antigens. Antigens such as toxins from insect bites, bacteria, viruses, cells from non-matching blood types are all recognized as non-self to the immune system. Question 9. Which of the following is a single strand of RNA that provides the template used for sequencing amino acids into a polypeptide? A. Transfer RNA or tRNA. B. Messenger RNA or mRNA. C. Ribosomal RNA or rRNA. D. Transcription RNA or ttRNA. The answer is messenger RNA or mRNA. tRNA is a short RNA molecule that is used for transporting amino acids to the proper place they transfer, or rRNA are the building blocks of ribosomes. So ribosomal RNA makes ribosomes. Question number 10. You need to measure the mass of a sample. Which tool would you use? A. Volumetric pipette. B. Graduated cylinder. C. Triple beam balance. D. Measuring wheel. The answer is C. Triple beam balance. To measure the mass, which is a weight, you use either a triple beam balance or electronic scale. Volumetric pipettes and graduated cylinders measure volume, and a measuring wheel is used to measure length. So a triple beam balance is used to measure the mass or the weight. Question 11. Which of the following, along with the pelvic girdle, forms the pelvis? A. Lumbar vertebrae. B. Thoracic vertebrae. C. Sacrum and coccyx. D. Cervical vertebrae. The correct answer is C. Sacrum and coccyx, which are at the bottom of the vertebral column. They meet the pelvic girdle and they form the pelvis. Question 12. Which of the following stimulates an endocrine gland to grow and secrete hormones? A. Prolactin. B. Oxytocin. C. Tropic hormone. D. Parathyroid hormone. The answer is C. Tropic hormone. Tropic hormones are secreted by the anterior pituitary gland. An example of a tropic hormone is FSH, which helps the female ovaries release an egg. Question 13. Which of the following makes sense for the size of an IV bag? A. 1 kilogram. B. 500 milliliters. C. 4 liters. D. 6 centimeters. The correct answer is B. 500 milliliters. IV bags are specified by their capacity, which is volume. So kilograms would be weight, centimeters would be a length measurement. So then you'd be looking at B and C for volume measurement. 500 milliliters or 1,000 milliliters are the most frequently used primary IV bags, and 4 liters would be too large. Question 14. If an impulse is traveling from the spinal cord to a skeletal and smooth muscles, what type of neuron is it? A. Motor neuron. B. Sensory neuron. C. Interneurons. D. Neurons in the brain. The answer is A. Motor neuron. Sensory neurons travel from sensory receptors towards the spinal cord. Interneurons connect spinal motor neurons and sensory neurons. So motor neurons would be the ones traveling from the spinal cord to skeletal and smooth muscle. Which of the following best describes the term peristalsis? A. Rhythmic contractions to move food along the digestive tract. B. Mastication and deglutition of food. C. Movement of food molecules from the digestive tract to capillaries. D. The process of releasing saliva with enzymes into the mouth. The correct answer is A. Rhythmic contractions to move food along the digestive tract is the best way to describe peristalsis. Mastication means chewing, and deglutition is the act of swallowing. When scientists conduct experiments, they observe and collect blank. A. Hypotheses. B. Control variables. C. Empirical data. D. Bias. The correct answer is C. Empirical data. It's collected by observation or experimentation, while hypotheses are educated guesses that you then test, and control variables are something you keep constant when you're performing an experiment. Bias is any deviation from the truth in data collection. Question 17. Which of the following is not a lobe of the cerebrum? A. Parietal. B. Occipital. C. Superior. D. Temporal. The correct answer is C. So superior is not a lobe of the cerebrum. The cerebrum is divided into 4 different lobes, including the frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital. Which part of the nephron is closest to the collecting duct? A. Loop of Henle. B. Distal convoluted tubule. C. Proximal convoluted tubule. D. Bowman's capsule. The correct answer is the distal convoluted tubule. That is the last stop in the nephron before the urine filtrate enters the common collecting duct. Question 19. Research has found that the babies of mothers who have an iron deficiency are at increased risk of low birth weight compared to mothers who have proper iron levels. Which of the following statements is the most logical extension of this observation? A. Any high-calorie diet rich in iron is beneficial to a child's long-term health. B. Diets that are low in iron are poor nutritional choices for pregnant women. C. Health outcomes of a woman's diet are visible in the health of their babies rather than themselves. D. If a mother does not have an iron deficiency, then her baby will have an ideal birth weight. The correct answer is B. So diets that are low in iron are poor nutritional choices for pregnant women, and that would be the most logical extension of the observation of the statement that you read. So the question states that iron deficiency is a risk for babies' healthy weight. So that would make this statement correct. Although iron is important for a baby's weight, it does not follow that any high-calorie diet is beneficial. And although a diet can affect a baby's health, it is also likely that a diet will affect a woman's health too. There are factors other than iron deficiency that can result in low birth weight. So that would make D incorrect. Question number 20. A single layer of the three membranes that provide the brain and spinal cord with protection and support is called A blank. A, meninx, B, cranium, C, frontal lobe, D, cerebrum. The correct answer is A, meninx. It is one of the three meninges or membranes that cover the brain and spinal cord. The three membranes are dura mater, arachnoid, and pia mater. Question 21. Maternal antibodies transferring to the fetus through the placenta is an example of which of the following? A, active immunity, B, immunization, C, passive immunity, D, vasodilation. The correct answer is C, passive immunity. The transfer of maternal antibodies to the placenta is an example of passive immunity. Immunization is an example of active immunity. Vasodilation is an example of an inflammatory response. So passive immunity is the mother passing to the fetus. A blank is a relationship between two variables in which both variables move in the same direction. A, sequence, B, positive correlation, C, negative correlation, D, hypothesis. The answer is B, positive correlation. So positive correlation is when the relationship goes in the same direction. Negative is when one factor increases while the other decreases. So positive correlation, both variables in the same direction. Question 23. What is the function of prolactin? A, promotes milk production. B, promotes growth of body tissue. C, it serves no function. D, stimulates basal metabolic rate. The answer is A, promotes milk production. Prolactin is a hormone primarily produced by the anterior pituitary gland. Its main and most well-known function is to stimulate milk production, also known as lactation, in mammary glands after childbirth. During pregnancy, prolactin levels rise, but milk production is inhibited by the high levels of estrogen and progesterone. After delivery, when the milk is needed and these hormones drop, prolactin effects become more apparent and milk production begins. Question 24. Which variable is measured in an experiment as a possible effect? A, dependent, B, control, C, independent, D, manipulated. The answer is A, dependent. So a dependent variable or responding variable are the factors that are predicted to change as the independent variable is changed. An independent variable is what is manipulated in the experiment and is the factor that is changed by the researcher. So the dependent variable depends on the independent variable. The control is a variable that is held constant, so it doesn't affect the outcome of the experiment. Question number 25. Which hormone is responsible for fight or flight? A, growth hormone, B, epinephrine and norepinephrine, C, cortisol, D, oxytocin. Correct answer is B, epinephrine, norepinephrine. Growth hormones promotes growth of body tissue. Cortisol increases blood glucose levels, while epinephrine, norepinephrine is responsible for the fight or flight. Question 26. A researcher wants to test the hypothesis that a nitrogen-rich environment is superior for the growth of a specific type of bacteria. Which of the following is the best way to test this hypothesis? A, record the bacteria levels in a single nitrogen-rich environment versus a single nitrogen-poor environment. B, compare the bacteria levels from 20 nitrogen-rich environments versus 20 nitrogen-poor environments. C, compare the average bacteria levels from the nitrogen-rich environments to the maximum bacteria levels for the nitrogen-poor environments. D, count the bacteria growth from 20 separate nitrogen-rich environments versus a single nitrogen-poor environment. The answer is B. So this is the most complete test protocol of the options. The other options use too small of a sample size or compare measurements. Which of the following is a sensory cell that responds to chemical stimuli? A, nerve ending, B, atria, C, chemoreceptor, D, neuron. The correct answer is C, chemoreceptor. Chemoreceptors are nerve endings stimulated to produce nerve impulses by contact with a chemical substance. So it responds to the chemical stimuli. Question 28. This region refers to main axis of the body, head, neck, and trunk. A, axial, B, appendicular, C, anterior, D, ventral. The correct answer is A, axial. Axial is the main axis of the body, head, neck, trunk. Appendicular refers to the appendages, so your arms and legs. Anterior and ventral refer to something towards the front of the body. Question 29. What percentage of the total blood volume is plasma? A, 75%, B, 50%, C, 10%, D, 55%. Plasma accounts for 55% of the total blood volume. Formed elements account for about 45%. Question 30. Which of the following carbohydrates provides energy storage? A, cellulose, B, glycogen, C, chitin, D, amino acids. Correct answer is B, glycogen. So glycogen is the storage form of glucose in humans. Cellulose and chitin are carbohydrates that provide structural support. Amino acids are proteins, not carbohydrates. So energy storage, B, glycogen. Question 31. Which of the following is the smallest unit of life? A, cell, B, tissue, C, organism, D, bacteria. The correct answer is A, cell. A cell is the smallest unit of life. An organism is a system made up of cells that has the characteristics of a living thing. Question number 32. The process of inhalation takes in air containing oxygen, while the process of exhalation gives out air containing blank. A, minerals, B, oxygen, C, carbon dioxide, D, vitamins. The answer is C, carbon dioxide. Inhalation is responsible for taking in air containing oxygen, while exhalation is responsible for releasing that air which contains the carbon dioxide. Which of the following is a correct pairing of DNA bases? A, T with G, C with A. Option B, A with T, C with G. Option C, A with C, G with T. Option D, A with G, C with T. The correct answer is option B, so it's A with T and C with G. It's referring to complementary bases. Question 34. Which of the following would be found in the nucleolus? A, cytoplasm, B, flagella, C, vesicles, D, ribosomes. The answer is D, ribosomes. The nucleolus serves to create ribosomes. Ribosomes are found floating in the cytoplasm and attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. The cytoplasm is a fluid matrix outside of the nucleus, while flagella are hair-like structures on the outside of the cell, and vesicles are small sacs that bud from the Golgi. Question 35. When a doctor tells you to inhale as much as possible and then exhale as much as possible into a spirometer, what is it called? A, vital capacity, B, total lung capacity, C, lung test, D, volume test. The correct answer is A, vital capacity. If a doctor asks you to do this, they will be taking your vital capacity. The doctor uses a tool called a spirometer and has you inhale as much as possible and then exhale as much as possible. Question 36. A gene for a flower has two alleles, one for red petals and one for white petals. Cross-pollination of the red flowers and the white flowers results in new flowers that have red and white spotted petals. Which of the following terms best describes the relationship between the two alleles? A, incomplete dominance, B, dihybrid inheritance, C, codominance, D, epistasis. The answer is C, codominance. Codominance is when two alleles may be expressed at the same time, both red and white on the same petal. Incomplete dominance is when two alleles produce an intermediate phenotype, such as pink petals. Dihybrid is a Mendelian inheritance. Epistasis is an antagonistic interaction between genes. Question 37. You are looking at the stratum basale epithelial tissue under a microscope. It is tall and functions to protect underlying tissue and conduct mitosis. What are you looking at? A. Columnar epithelial tissue. B. Cuboidal epithelial tissue. C. Squamous epithelial tissue. D. Simple epithelium. The answer is A. Columnar epithelial tissue. Squamous epithelial tissue is flat, and cuboidal is cube-shaped. Question 38. Which of the following is the gathering of chewed food into a ball in order to be swallowed? A. Mastication. B. Bolus. C. Absorption. D. Mechanical digestion. The answer is B. Bolus. Mastication is the act of chewing the food. Mechanical digestion is the process of breaking it down, but not actually gathering the food into a ball. That would be bolus. Question 39. What term refers to atoms that have the identical number of protons and electrons, but different number of neutrons? A. Groups. B. Isotopes. C. Cations. D. Covalent. The answer is B. Isotopes. So isotopes are atoms that have the identical number of protons and electrons, but different number of neutrons. This results in different physical properties. The columns of the periodical table are called groups, which signify identical valence electron configurations. Cations are positive ions formed by losing electrons, and covalent bonds are chemical bonds in which electron pairs are shared between atoms. Question 40. Which types of epithelial membrane lines the body cavities that are exposed to substances coming from outside the body? A. Serous membrane. B. Mucous membrane. C. Synovial membrane. D. Cutaneous membrane. B. Mucous membrane. The serous membrane lines the interior organs and cavities. The synovial membrane lines the cavities at bone joints, and the cutaneous membrane lines the skin. Question 41. What are the hormones insulin and glucagon produced? Options are A. Islet cells. B. Acinar cells. C. Goblet cells. D. Pituitary cells. The correct answer is A. Islet cells. So they are produced in the islet cells. Insulin and glucagon are produced by the beta and alpha islet cells respectively. Question 42. Using the table below, determine the intrinsic properties of the melting point, density, and average atomic mass of the element lithium, Li. Options are A. 454, 0.535, and 6.941. B. 2,447, 0.535, 9.01, 2182. C. 357, 0.535, and 6.941. Or D. 357, 0.98, and 6.941. The answer is C. So you have to make sure to look at the values on the right row for lithium in columns. Also be sure to use the Fahrenheit value for melting point. Question 43. Which of the following vitamins is synthesized by the stratum germinativum when exposed to sunlight? A. Vitamin D, B. Vitamin A, C. Melatonin, D. Adrenaline. The answer is A. Vitamin D. One of the functions of the skin is to synthesize vitamin D. The skin is exposed to the sun, and the skin synthesizes the vitamin D when exposed to the sun. Question 44. Which of the following is a cluster of capillaries in the nephron that performs filtration? A. Glomerulus, B. Capsules, C. Medial capsule, D. Renal capsule. The answer is A. Glomerulus. The renal capsule is a layer of tissue that surrounds the kidneys. Thank you for taking the full-length TEAS science exam with me. For more exams and complete coverage of the TEAS exams, visit the link in our bio. I'm Nurse Claire, and good luck!